everybody, it's Chris Eads, and on line is Wootini here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. This week, of course, I went to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which was really terrific. I really liked it. I think it was probably one of the best Marvel movies. It's right up there with some of the best. I will say, however, I was not expecting it to be that upsetting. My husband had said, oh, maybe you should take some tissues to the theater with you in case, for your allergies. And I was like, oh, no, my allergies are fine today. It was yesterday they were bothering me. I'm okay. But I wished I had brought the tissues because I went from misty-eyed to full-on crying to extremely upset. For anyone, I don't want to spoil anything about the movie, but for anyone sensitive to animal cruelty, there are some really rough scenes, and there's quite a lot of them, and they just keep coming, and it's very upsetting. So I found that very upsetting, and I did cry, and it was very emotional, and there was also the human emotion. There's a lot of other heavy emotions going on too, and those got me crying because I was already upset over the animals, and I was like, so the whole thing was kind of very emotional moment. But it also, because it's like the grand finale of the Guardians trilogy, it has that weight to it, so it all works. And there is the Guardians humor, but it can't offset the upsetting nature of the general plot. And there's some great action sequences, which look terrific in 3D, by the way, because James Gunn is one of the few Marvel directors who actually uses 3D to good effect. Some of the other ones don't seem to think about it at all. And it made me very upset that Disney is no longer releasing 3D Blu-rays in America, or even Europe, which is where I had to start importing them from when they stopped releasing them in America. Now they're only in Japan, and they cost like $100 to import. And I'm just like, ugh. Even this, I don't think I could justify spending $100 on. But it's really good. It has a great, satisfying conclusion to the trilogy, and it's really, really good. Just be aware that it's also very, very upsetting in multiple places. As for games, I thought that I was going to have something else to talk about besides Horizon, except, I do technically, I just don't have as much to talk about as I thought I would. Because I thought I wasn't going to make a lot of progress on the Burning Shores DLC because Nintendo, I guess to get everybody hyped up for Tears of the Kingdom, which I don't know why anyone would need to get more hyped up. It's all anyone can seem to talk about. They thought they, whet your Zelda appetite. They offered for a week a free game trial for Cadence of Hyrule, which is a spin-off of the Crypt of the Necrodancer game. And I thought, oh, I never really looked into it back when it first came out. Like, it's from 2019 or whatever. So I'm like, I never looked into it. And I was like, it's like a top-down Zelda game combined with a rhythm game. I like rhythm games. That could be fun. So I said, let me just download this game trial and see what it's all about. And you start off as the character from Crypt of the Necrodancer, working your way through a mini dungeon, which is like a tutorial to teach you how the game actually functions. And you basically it's like a top-down Zelda game where you each screen is just a section of the map, and you move into it, and there's some enemies, and you have to move with the directional buttons, and then attack them in time with the music. And that was fine. And then at the end of the dungeon, you pick either Link or Zelda. And I said, well, let me pick Zelda just to give Zelda some play for a change. And then as Zelda, you wake up in your room and you have to escape the castle. And that served as a secondary tutorial, which taught you a few other things. And I'm like, okay, this is fun. This is cute. I could play this for a week. I don't know if I'd actually buy it when the game trial ran out, but, I get to the part where you escape the castle and you head into the wilds of Hyrule, and all of a sudden I go to the right and there's this screen and it's a bunch of enemies, and I'm like, yikes. But I got through them, and then it was you can go right or down, and so I went right, and it was oh god, no, there's way too many enemies. Like, this is clearly not the direction I'm supposed to be going in. So I went down, but then there were still just as many enemies. And I was just like, gah. And so I started to try to kill them. And as the second enemy, I died. That's when I found that it's a roguelike as well, because when you die, any items or rupees that you have collected during your gameplay are gone. And you have to start over with nothing. Well, you still keep your weapon, it seems like. So if you had a dagger or a sword, like, you still have that to attack the enemies with. But you'll lose, like, your torch or your shovel, which would help you get around the world and get rid of obstacles and stuff. So it's, like, super annoying. And so I was like, crap. And so I tried again, and then I died from exactly the same enemy in the exact same amount of time that quickly. And I was like, no. And I just turned it off. Because I was like, this is insane. Like, this isn't fun. Like, I just die instantly. Because the problem is that I had trouble adjusting to the gameplay, because you move with the directional buttons, but that's also your attack. There isn't an attack button. So you basically have to, like, move around the enemy and then move into the enemy on the beat, and that's your attack. And then some enemies take, like, multiple attacks, and you have to, like, some have shields so that you have to go around the other side of them. And you have to, like, watch for their patterns. And it was just like, there were just so many different enemies and so many different things to worry about. And I'm, like, trying to run around the screen. And I was just like, no, like, this is just chaos. And it was difficult. And I was like, this is too much for me. I can't handle it. It's too hyper. And I just said no. And I turned it off, and I went straight back to Horizon Forbidden West. And that continues to be delightful. So, I did make quite a bit of progress. I have been trying, like I mentioned in the last episode, I'm trying to, like, not do the main quest. I'm trying to find side quests and stuff to help stretch out the DLC content. And because I would prefer to finish the main quest and have that be the ending. But I feel like I'm not going to have done everything, so I'm going to have to go back afterwards to pick up some stragglers. Because, like, I found a side quest randomly, and I was like, oh, look, there's some place to explore. And I ran into Gildan, who was all like, hey, Aloy. And I'm like, hey, you seem vaguely familiar. So I had to, like, look him up on a Horizon wiki, and it turns out that the reason I don't remember him is that he's not in either of the main games. He was in the Frozen Wilds DLC for the first game. So he only appears in DLC, apparently, which is why I didn't remember him. But it was a good little adventure, and a bit bittersweet at the end. He was already upset, so I let him believe what he wanted to believe. I didn't want to upset him further, but it was cute. I also found a cauldron, and worked my way through the cauldron, and got to the end, and the boss was actually not too bad. I have gotten better at the machines. It only took me a few days to kind of get back into the swing of things, and it was a little rough in the beginning, and as you might recall from a couple episodes ago, I was a little nervous. I was like, oh god, this game's really hard all of a sudden. But it's okay now. I'm better at it. And then I ended up doing the main quest. So I'm with Seika, and we are heading into the bad guy's lair, basically. And there are some side things to do in there as we're working our way towards the final boss fight. One of which I did find there was a toy in there, one of the collectible toys that you're supposed to collect. And to get it, you had to go through a vent and drop down into another vent. And you drop down into the room, you collect the toy. Yay. I go back up into the vent, and then I couldn't go up into the upper vent to get out. Like, I'm underneath the opening, and I'm jumping, I'm rolling, I'm standing, nothing is working, I am stuck there. And I got so annoyed. I was like, what the hell kind of bug is this? So I finally said, well, there's nothing I can do. I have to reload from the last save. And then I thought I would just reload and I would try it again. And if I got stuck again, I'd be like, forget it, we're not collecting the toys then, because I'll never get that one. But instead of taking me back to like the last time I saved at a campfire nearby, it actually just put me outside of the room again. And Seiko's like, oh, there you are, you're back. And I was like, wait, what? And I checked my inventory and the toy was in there. So I was like, score. So I didn't have to go back in and risk getting stuck again. It just reloaded, and it must have saved like after I'd collected the toy, but it didn't save me in the vent. It saved me just outside of the vent, which is very nice of it to do since I got stuck in there. And I also like that as we're approaching the boss fight, it's a lot of human enemies. So I get to do some fun stealth kills. My favorite thing is to snipe them with a hunter's arrow from like really far away and just like headshot and done in one. But if they're wearing helmets, then you can't usually get them done in one. You have to do two, which is annoying. I like the done in ones. But also there's been like, you hide in the bushes and then you stealth kill them. And I don't know if these are new animations for the DLC, or if I just don't remember them, or I wasn't doing enough stealth kills in the main game to remember them. I don't know. But there's been some different variations on like the stealth kills that I have enjoyed watching. But it seems like next episode I'm going to be talking about the end of the Burning Shores DLC, and potentially whatever I've started playing next, which really should be finishing Ace Attorney. So I'm going to try to stick to that, okay? So come back next episode and find out if I am lying to you and myself. Bye!